Strange things can happen out on the road, things that no one expects, especially on a busy highway. Officer Joseph Puglia was having an ordinary day driving along the interstate on his way to the police station. A man trained to stay calm in emergencies, Joseph was ready for anything, or so he thought. Suddenly, a shocking scene unfolded right before his eyes. A dog, seemingly out of nowhere, darted into the middle of the busy highway. Before Joseph could react, a car slammed into the poor animal. The driver didn't even slow down, they just kept speeding away as if nothing had happened. The dog was left lying still, vulnerable, on the unforgiving asphalt. Joseph's instincts kicked in immediately. Without a moment's hesitation, he swerved his police cruiser to block the lane, parking sideways to shield the injured dog from other vehicles. His dashcam was already recording, capturing everything, the chaos, the horror, and Joseph's swift response. He rushed out, heart pounding, and dropped to his knees beside the motionless dog. At first, there was no sign of life. Panic began to rise in his chest. This was supposed to be a routine drive to the station, not a life-or-death rescue. The dog was badly hurt, there was blood everywhere, but where exactly was he injured? Joseph couldn't tell. He had to act fast. Just as he was about to give up hope, a tiny, almost imperceptible movement caught his eye. The dog was still breathing, shallow, faint breaths, but enough to keep hope alive. Joseph knew leaving the dog there would be a death sentence. He had to get help, and fast. He sprinted back to his cruiser and grabbed the emergency blanket stashed inside. Moving the dog needed to be done carefully. Joseph wrapped him gently but securely, cradling him like a fragile package as he lifted him off the highway. Every step back to the car was filled with worry. Would the dog survive the ride? Joseph placed the dog carefully in the back seat, securing the door. The ride to the animal hospital was probably the gentlest patrol car trip ever given to a passenger. Without wasting a second, Joseph took the wheel and called dispatch, explaining the emergency and requesting directions to the nearest veterinary clinic. Dispatch connected him to Penless Animal Hospital and called ahead, alerting the staff to prepare for the incoming emergency. When Joseph pulled into the parking lot, a team was waiting, ready to whisk the injured dog inside for immediate surgery. Joseph wanted to stay by the dog's side, but duty called him back to the streets. With a heavy heart, he handed over Lucky's care to the vets, hoping he had arrived just in time. Before leaving, a hospital worker asked what name they should use while searching for the dog's owners. Joseph thought about how close the dog had come to death and how fortunate he was to have been saved. The name Lucky came to mind, fitting perfectly. The next day after his shift, Joseph returned to the hospital. What he saw stunned him. Lucky was sitting up, wagging his tail furiously as soon as he saw his rescuer. It was a moment of pure joy for Joseph. He had truly thought the dog might not make it, but here he was, alive and healing. Lucky had suffered cuts and bruises but was strong. The next challenge was finding out where Lucky belonged. He had no collar, no ID tags, and the vets couldn't find a microchip. It seemed like Lucky might have had a family at some point, but they were nowhere to be found. Joseph visited Lucky every day, building a bond with the brave dog. Then, Lucky was discharged and moved to a local animal shelter where officials would care for him and try to find his family or a new home. The shelter shared Lucky's story widely, hoping someone would recognize the dog and come forward. Soon, a family contacted the shelter claiming Lucky as their own. They showed photos proving he belonged to them, explaining he had escaped when a delivery driver left their gate open. At first, it seemed like the perfect happy ending. But something didn't feel right. The shelter wanted to make sure Lucky would be going to a safe home, so they scheduled a home visit, standard procedure. The family kept avoiding the visits with excuses but sent photos of Lucky on fun adventures posted on social media. The pictures seemed perfect, almost too perfect. Worried, a shelter worker decided to visit the address herself. What she found was heartbreaking. The yard was small and barren. Lucky was chained outside with no shade, no food, and no water. The family had lied, editing photos to make it look like Lucky lived in comfort. They didn't own him, they were exploiting him to boost their social media following. Authorities stepped in immediately. Lucky was removed, the family was fined, and Lucky was brought back to the shelter. This time, he wasn't alone for long. Officer Puglia never forgot about Lucky. When the shelter called him, he didn't hesitate to come back for the dog. The moment Lucky saw Joseph again, he leaped with joy, tail wagging furiously. Joseph was no longer just Lucky's rescuer, now he was his forever home. Joseph adopted Lucky and gave him the love and care he deserved, a safe place to heal and thrive, and the family he had been missing all along.